In this video, let's talk about the PSA set registry and one of the biggest issues that I have with it. What is going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me on my channel, Brutus on Baseball. Today, I wanted to talk about PSA Set Registry and one of my favorite sets to collect on that registry, the post-war Hall of Fame rookie card set. This is not just a popular set for me, it's a popular set across the board. And let's be honest here, the set registry is one of the biggest things that sets PSA apart from its competitors, BGS, CGC, and SGC. BGS tried its hand at creating their own set registry, it bombed. SGC used to have one, and there's been years of talk that they were going to do it again, but since they got bought out by Collectors Universe, who knows what's going to happen there, and maybe we'll see them combined with PSA Set Registry in the future, but we just don't know. But that is one of the things that made PSA the monster that it is. The fact that they have the set registry and tons of collectors out there love participating in it. I watched a video recently by Victor, the rookie card specialist, where he had some questions for a PSA guy about this set registry, the post-war Hall of Fame rookie cards. And he really focused on the idea of Albert Pujols and Ichiro Suzuki, two guys that are gonna be in the Hall of Fame in the next 5 years, and what cards are gonna be represented for them on that set registry when they do get inducted. Right now, it looks to be the SP Authentic, and Victor talked about why that's an issue, and we're gonna cover it later in this video. But let's start with basics first. This is the PSA Set Registry kind of homepage, and you can click on this Explore icon in the top right corner and come up with this menu. I'm going to click on baseball, and it's going to bring us into all these different categories. But what we're going to focus on is this Hall of Fame sets right here. And when we click into that, we're going to see that there's lots of options, but really the primary ones, the post-war rookie Hall of Fame players, you have 804 different sets, different people participating to try to collect this full set from the registry. Once you click into that, you'll see that off the bat, there are a couple different cards for some of these older ones. Bowman or Leaf for guys like Ralph Kiner, Warman Spahn, Stan Musial. But starting in 1949, it really became Bowman. And then 1952, when Topps took over, they really held the torch for a long time. All the way from 1952 up through the early 80s when the monopoly actually ended and players like Donruss and Fleer came into the game. But even then, the early 80s are dominated by Topps. It's not until the 1984 that you first see Fleer updates show up, and that's because Kirby Puckett didn't have a Topps card in that season. But starting in 1987, that's when you see the first shift. Greg Maddux is the first one that shows up here. He had a Donruss, Topps, and Fleer card from that year, but the Donruss was chosen for this set. That's a pretty easy explanation for this one, because Donruss was the base set that had a Greg Maddux rookie card, but it was the Topps Traded and the Fleer update sets that had the Maddux cards in that year. But let's look at the next one in line, Fleer Barry Larkin. Why Fleer? Why not Topps or Donruss? He had base rookie cards in all three sets. Well, I have no quibble with this one. I would have picked the Fleer too. And partly what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to look and see what the different populations of these rookie cards are and which one is going to represent the player in the Hall of Fame rookie set. What we see with Larkin is that his Fleer card has a population of 445 PSA 10s compared to 1,300 Donruss and 1,600, almost 1,700 Topps. Well, to me, this is saying that the Fleer card was picked because it's more scarce. And I don't have the information here, but I'm willing to guess that the gem percentage of the Fleer is also probably lower than the other two, making it not only more scarce to find in a PSA holder, but also more scarce to find in a higher grade. That makes sense to me. Totally get it. But we start running into problems as we go forward. You look in 1988, we got Fleer, Edgar Martinez, fine. Fleer update, John Smoltz. It was the only one that he really had in 1988. Score, Tom Glavine. Why did they pick Score for Glavine over other ones? You start to ask these questions. 89 makes a lot of sense. You've got Griffey, Randy Johnson, and other guys that are likely to get in the future, maybe Gary Sheffield, that will be represented by their Upper Deck cards. And Upper Deck makes a lot of sense because that was the brand new premium brand in that year and a beautiful set. Once again, no arguments for me. But where I really started having a problem with this was getting into the early 90s. You had the Leaf, which was another premium brand, but going into 91, you've got a Bowman card for Jim Thome and Chipper Jones, but then Ultra Update for Mussina, Pudge, and Jeff Bagwell. Why the difference? Well, this could be explained that Chipper Jones and Jim Thome didn't have an Ultra Update card, so maybe if they did, those would have been picked. But my problem was, why were the Ultra Update cards actually picked for the other three guys instead of the Bowman or another card? Let's look a little bit more in depth now at Chipper Jones. This is my set registry. I don't have the complete set. I don't have the O-Pee-Chee or the Topps Micro, but those would never be considered for the set registry anyway. So let's look at the four that are left over. You've got a Bowman that's a population of just over 1,800, Score just over 2,100, and Topps 5,800, Upper Deck just over 3,000. So obviously they've picked the scarcer one again. Bowman is way less common to find than the other three cards. And this goes once again with my thinking with the Barry Larkin, that you pick the most scarce of the card, the one that actually is hardest to find in good condition. But when we look at other guys, and I'm going to pick Jeff Bagwell here, this is obviously not the case with how they picked the Bagwell, because Jeff Bagwell does have a Bowman rookie card, and it's got a population of only 166 in PSA 10, way fewer than the Chipper Jones. I can totally dismiss the Donish rookies, the Fleer Update, the Score Traded. These are all update type sets, but you've got lots of choices here still. Not only the Bowman, but the Stadium Club, the Studio, and then an Upper Deck base set. So if I'm going to pick a base set, I've got four choices. Now, if you're really going to go with most scarce, like PSA has shown that they've done with the last two guys we looked at, you pick the Studio. There's only 29 PSA 10s in the 91 Studio set for Jeff Bagwell. Let's say you don't even want to go that scarce. The Bowman is another great choice, 166. But what they did is they picked the Ultra Update. Other than the Topps Traded, this is Jeff Bagwell's most common card to be able to find. And it doesn't make sense to me why they didn't go with the same concept they did with Chipper Jones or Barry Larkin and pick something like the Bowman. Now, back a few years ago, I wrote PSA the question after Jeff Bagwell was elected to the Hall of Fame. I wanted to know what their reasoning was for picking that card, as well as the Ivan Rodriguez and the Mike Mussina, because both Rodriguez and Mussina, like Bagwell, have Bowman rookie cards as well. And their response to me was, for the most part, the Hall of Fame and key sets include the most popular rookie card for each player. How do you define the most popular rookie card? That's a really tough one. But they go on in this email to pretty much explain that by the population of each card. They looked at three particular ones, maybe because that's what I suggested, but the Bagwell, the Bowman, the Stadium Club with the population report, the total population of those graded compared to the Ultra Update. This was a long time ago, but Ultra Update was obviously way ahead of the other two. Same thing with Ivan Rodriguez. His Ultra Update had been graded twice as often as his Bowman, and to them, this was their reasoning for selecting the Ultra Update at that time period, which I don't need to say does not agree at all with how they did the Chipper or the Barry Larkin cards. Now this is where we need to switch gears a little bit. Not only is there this Hall of Fame post-war rookies, there's also a one called the Future Hall of Fame Players. And there's 341 collectors participating in this. About a third of what the post-war rookies said participation is, but still a pretty high participation. And that's because a lot of the collectors that collect the post-war rookies also want to anticipate who's going to get there in the future. This is where the problem really begins. Because this set, the Future Hall of Fame rookie card set, is what PSA is actually determining for what card is used in that much more popular post-war rookie set. You go back on this one, it's all Topps again. Fleer Update for Clemens makes sense. But you also have guys like Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Carlos Beltran, Sabathia is coming up on the list, and Suzuki and Pujols. These guys are all guys that are likely to get in the next couple of years through the writer's ballot. And beyond that, you even have guys that are not yet retired that one day are very likely to get into the Hall of Fame. But then we go even further than that. Still active players that are somewhere in the prime of their career that have a good path for the Hall of Fame. Guys like Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt, Altuve, Trout, Harper, Machado, Arenado. And we've even gotten to a point where we've added in DeGrom and Aaron Judge. Two guys that have no business being on this list. I'm not sure about DeGrom, but I know that Aaron Judge doesn't even meet the minimum requirement in terms of number of years played in baseball to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. And so where does this create a big problem? Well, it's because the PSA has already decided for all of these players listed which card will represent them in the post-war rookie Hall of Fame set when they get elected, if they ever do. This is where the concept for Ichiro and Pujols here have their SP authentic cards listed, and was the real crux of Victor's argument with the PSA guy that he interviewed about which card would be selected. An example here is Ichiro only has 400 graded copies in PSA holders of any grade for the SP authentic. So if there's 800 plus participants in the post-war rookie set registry, half the people and more as the registry continues to grow won't even be able to get the card in PSA holders. Now, a guy like Ichiro, let's look at him real quick. He has a ton of cards here available to be put into the set. It doesn't have to be the SP Authentic. It could be any number of these other cards. But because the SP Authentic has already been selected for the future Hall of Fame rookie set registry, we know which one is going to be selected unless PSA changes its protocols. Back at this set registry, when guys like Jeff Bagwell, Mike Mussina, and Ivan Rodriguez were on this list, it was their Ultra Update rookie cards that were listed in the future set registry, and it was simply carried over into the new one. What doesn't make any sense to me is why the future set registry, one that has only 340 participants, is dictating the cards that are going to be used in the post-war rookie registry, one that has 800 plus participants. It's a case of the tail wagging the dog, and it just doesn't make any sense. Now, let's drive this home for upcoming registry problems. You can see from the post-war rookie set that there's a lot of new guys that have been voted in the last handful of years. 92, you've got the Fleer Update Piazza, fine. 93, the SP Derek Jeter, a really difficult card to find in high grade, but one that's been graded a ton of times, so at least it's available. But why did they pick the SP Jeter? It's certainly not the most graded card from Derek Jeter. If PSA was going off the same explanation they gave for Jeff Bagwell and Ivan Rodriguez, you would pick something like the Topps, which has almost 50,000 cards and is way more popular than the SP of only 23,600, at least in terms of the number of cards graded. Or you could go the Barry Larkin and Chipper Jones direction and go with the more scarce of the cards, especially in high grade, which would certainly be the SP. And you can ask the same thing for the Bowman card that they just put in for Joe Mauer this year. They picked the Bowman, which has about 600 to 700 total PSA cards out there. But they could have easily picked the Topps card, which has closer to 1,200 and would technically be more popular in terms of the number of cards graded. Or they could have picked the Topps Chrome card, which has less than 300 total PSA graded cards. So for some reason, for Joe Mauer, they didn't go with the most popular in terms of the number of graded cards, or the most scarce. They kind of picked something in the middle for no good reason, other than that is the card that Joe Mauer had in the future Hall of Fame rookie card set. Now let's talk about another reason why this actually matters, beyond the argument that Victor brought up about the scarcity of the SP Authentic, Ichiro, and Pujols rookie cards. If we look at guys on that future rookie card list in coming years that could potentially get in, and around that Derek Jeter timeframe, you've got Alex Rodriguez, who also has his SP rookie card, but Billy Wagner, who has a Bowman. You ask yourself the question, does Billy Wagner have the SP? Yes, he does. So why wasn't the SP chosen for Billy Wagner where it was for Jeter and for A-Rod? And once again, there doesn't seem to be a good answer or really any answer at all. If we look at the Alex Rodriguez rookie card set, you can see that there are some here that are way more popular. Like if you base it off of popularity, the Flair would probably be the choice. But if you base it off of scarcity, it makes sense to have that SP. But if you go into the Billy Wagner set, they've got low populations across the board here, but why the Bowman? You could have picked the Bowman's Best, which would have been the most popular, or you could have picked the SP, which again is the most scarce and would have been in line with how Derek Jeter and A-Rod were treated. You've only got 43 and 9 and 7 10s. And if you really wanted to go for scarcity, you'd actually pick the Score Billy Wagner card. The lowly Score brand only has about 10 graded copies in PSA, and 4 of those only in PSA 10, making it by far the hardest card to actually find for Billy Wagner rookie cards. And this brings us to a reason why this is so important other than what we've already talked about. You go into recent sales of cards like Billy Wagner rookie cards, and you look up the 94 Bowman's Best in PSA 10, you see recent sales of $120 and $200. And as we looked at, that's for a card that has a population of only 83. You look up something that is lower pop count, like the Topps card, and you'll see a PSA 10 that recently sold for $229 best deal, $249 best deal, $249.50. So these are recent sales somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $250. But you go into the Bowman card, which again doesn't have a population much lower than the Topps, 42 compared to 33, but the Bowman sales are $1,000, $1,200 with the best offer accepted, an auction for $630. These are crazy prices compared to the Topps and the Bowman's best version, and you know there's only one reason why. It's because those are the cards that are gonna be on the PSA Set Registry. This is an example of the Set Registry having a major impact on the market, on the price of the cards that we're buying. So if you really want the Bowman card, it's going to be that much harder to get it for your own set, even if you don't participate in the Set Registry. And we're seeing it not only with Billy Wagner, but we saw it last year with Joe Mauer too, whose Bowman card sold for anywhere from $500 to $800, even up toward $1,000, compared to his Topps cards that sold for somewhere around $200 to $300 on a typical day. And his Topps Chrome, which has a much lower population report, but is selling for well less than the Bowman as well. So what does this all mean for the future? Well, you can see right here that the future rookie card list has guys that'll be getting in, like Yadi Molina. They've already picked the Topps. Justin Verlander, they've picked the Topps as well. Nelson Cruz shouldn't be on this list. Topps updates and highlights Kershaw and Scherzer. Yeah, most likely that's the right card. The Topps Posey card. But you really have to start wondering, guys that are still so active like Freddie Freeman, is his base Topps really the best or most popular card to be chosen 10 years, 15 years in the future when he's actually done playing? That even gets more pronounced when you get to guys like 2013 Topps Manny Machado or 2012 Topps Update Bryce Harper. These guys still have maybe at least 10 years in the league before they retire. Will the Topps base card for Manny Machado really be the most popular one 15 years from now? And if you talk about a guy like Aaron Judge, it's even more pronounced. How in the world are we going to know which card of Aaron Judge's is most popular? And we're deciding now, and we're trying to predict what will be his most popular card 15, 20 years in the future, when and if he even gets into the Hall of Fame. That seems like a crazy process to me, and it just makes no sense. I think it's going to take at least 10 years to figure out what this most recent era of card collecting is all about. The Topps cards for Aaron Judge, you look at them, there's probably around 9,000-10,000 graded versions by PSA already. Is that really what we want to put in the Set Registry? Or do we want to pick something that's more rare and difficult to come by, or more scarce and high grades? Whatever the decision, I think there should be some consistency, and there's just none at this point. What I would do if I were PSA, every time a player gets elected, there should be a poll put out. Which card do you think we should pick? It should be up to the 800 plus of collectors who participate in the post-war rookie Hall of Fame Set Registry, which card gets selected. And it shouldn't be decided before they're elected at all, because then you see prices like the Bowman Billy Wagner card or the Bowman Joe Mauer going for crazy high prices. And hopefully the voters would be able to select the most representative one that we want to see, like the Bowman Bagwell or the Bowman McMessina over the Ultra Update, which I think for the most part, people would vastly approve of making that change. I'd want to see the SP Billy Wagner instead of the Bowman, so it's consistent with Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. But for cards like Ichiro and Albert Pujols, I wouldn't pick a card that is so scarce you may not even be able to find one. And when you do, you've got to spend an arm and a leg just to be able to have it and participate in the registry with that card. By all means, PSA, keep the future rookie card set registry. People can have fun with it, but don't have it dictate what card gets used in the more important and more popular set registry for the post-war rookie Hall of Famers. If you have any more comments about this subject or anything else about the set registry, I'd love to hear it in the comments below, and how much support there is for it, so that we can all get on the same page going forward for one of the most popular set registries out there. In the meantime, keep talking baseball, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you around.